Hello dear students, I am Dr. Chitra Dadich. Welcomes you all again on behalf of Sona Devi Sethia PG Girls College Sujangarh on a lecture of a poem written by Toru Dutt, Our Casuarina Tree, Part 2. As we all know that in our prior video we read about our Casuarina tree, about Toru Dutt and the poem's first two parts. So, what we read earlier, that Our Casuarina Tree is a poem written in English by the Indian writer Toru Dutt, who celebrates a huge tree named Casuarina tree that she resembling herself and associated with the happiness of her childhood in India. Toru Dutt associates the tree with the memory of lost loved ones, people from her youth. Probably, obviously, we know very well that it is based on Dutt's dad siblings with whom she, when a girl, played beneath the tree. She is missing her brother and sister Aru and Abju. So the fact is that the tree is associated in Toru Dutt's mind with other persons is already foreshadowed in the poem's title through the use of the word our. So, Our Casuarina Tree. The Toru Dutt's perspective is immediately more than merely her own, so the title already implies that she thinks of the tree as not simply hers but as belonging to others too. So, in the opening image, she just compares the tree with a large vine which crawling around the tree to a huge python. So, and again we know very well that Toru Dutt just showing and presenting in front of us the pictures of flowers, the beauty of tree, and associated with the animals like bees, birds, cockles, etc. So the tree is situated in the garden, and she described the surroundings which is described also in terms of the sound also. So here let's start the third stanza of the poem Our Casuarina Tree. So we know very well that the first two stanzas emphasizes the tree's connection with the rest of the nature like the birds, bees, animals and the other plants. The stanza third of Casuarina Tree by Toru Dutt emphasizes the tree's connection with persons the speaker especially loved. So earlier we know very well that the young baboons were said to play in the tree, but now here in this stanza the tree is associated with the play of human children. So the tree is linked with the time of special innocence in Toru Dutt's life. So however, no sooner are the joys of childhood mentioned, here she just mentioned the pain of loss that is implied by her here. So the tree is associated with the lovely memory of her brother and sister which is associated with the Casuarina tree. So in the third stanza, Toru Dutt tells that it is not because of its magnificence that dear is the Casuarina to my soul. It is because of her memories of her departed siblings. That's why the Casuarina tree is dear to her heart. So at the thought of their dads and their past memories, even the tree seems to lament and ushers forth an lyric speech. So the beauty of tree is no more than added gift to Toru Dutt. Its actual importance lies in the fact that it is the part of the poet's existence. It is a reminder of family ties, of the warmth shared by three siblings together, Aru, Abju and Toru. So the extent of her anguish, that is quite as helplessly she had to watch her brother and sister die.
that may actually be felt in the poem. So, it is the silent acceptance of God's will that has kept her verse free from the gloom generally associated with the sorrow and death. She just accept that it is the God's will that right now she lost her brother and sister. We know very well that her brother died when he was just a boy of 14. And Aru, her sister, was the next to go in 1874, and there was a time when Toru too was coughing up blood and knew that the end was near. So, hence we can say that she could have allowed in self-pity. She just wailed that the world was an unhappy place where people just sit and hear each other groan. So, even when the memory is heart-wrenching, the hot tears just well up to blind her, Toru Dutt does not express any desire to fade, like the words used by her, the far away and dissolves. So, the Casuarina tree does not make her long for easeful death. Instead, even though it is showing the timelessness, she just tries to mock the transience of the human world. So, here we can see that, but not because of its magnificence, dear the Casuarina to my soul. Yeah, we know very well the Casuarina tree is dear to her soul because she spent her childhood days under the trees of Casuarina, under the branches of Casuarina tree with her brother and sister Aru and Abju. So, beneath it we have played. Though years may roll, many years are passed, oh sweet companions, she just remembering and addressing her brother and sister, loved with love intense, for your sake shall the tree be ever dear. So, Casuarina tree is a constant reminder of her personal loss to her. Yeah, her eyes fill with as recalls the happy past. She just remembers the 3 carefree children playing in the garden under its branches. So the tree loyally responds to her mood. So with the poet, we also can imagine, we can also strain to our ears just to hear the rustling of the leaves, like the does like murmur, somewhat like the murmuring. Yeah, here what she is writing, that in memory till the hot tears blind mine eyes. She just remembering her brother and sister Aru and Abju, and the images just came up in her mind, and then she felt overwhelmed and the tears shedding from her eyes. So, what is the does like murmur that I hear? Like the sea breaking on the shingle beach. Does means the mournful song, the sad song. So, the does like murmur that I hear, like the sea breaking, like here again Toru Dutt using the simile, breaking on the shingle beach. Shingle beach, the mass of pebbles. So, here we can see that it is the tree's lament and Eric speech. Eric means strange, that happily to unknown land may reach. So here we just see that she is using the words, the does like murmur, somewhat like the murmuring. So that Wordsworth also once heard from Glamara's inmost case. In the same way, her tree, their tree mourns her loss. So what kind of the actual loss happened to Toru Dutt? That kind of loss is also felt by the tree itself, and that is the Eric speech, that is the strange speech. She hopes that her brother and sister may reach the untraversed terrain of the dead. Means unfortunately this is the comparison that the Toru Dutt draws between this mourning and the breaking of the waves on the shingle beach. expressed by Toru Dutt in a way, in the same way which is presenting by Matthew Arnold in his poem Dover Beach. What is the manner? The sea waves are come on the shore, and that time they are striking against the she rocks, and then they are just breaking into this few water drops. That time what kind of the music aroused by them? In the same way, such kind of the image created by Matthew Arnold in his poem Dover Beach, in the same way Toru Dutt also tries to create the same. So particularly just tries to create the manner in which she just tries to explain how the nature is mourning for the death of her brother and sister. So we know very well what kind of the manner used by Toru Dutt. She feels nostalgic and she just remembers them because of the tree. She just remembers her brother and sister. And in the next stanza, the fourth stanza, unknown yet well known to the eye of faith, oh, I have heard that wail far, far away in distant lands by many a sheltered bay, when slumbered in his cave the water wraith, and the waves gently kissed the classic shore of France or Italy beneath the moon, when earth lay tranced in a dreamless swoon, and every time the music rose, before mine inner vision rose a form sublime, thy form, O tree, as in my happy prime, I saw thee in my own loved native clime. So, what is this? In the fourth stanza, the Toru Dutt recalls various foreign shores, namely the France or Italy, where she heard the noise similar to the tree's mournful sighs, and recalled the tree and her own loved native clime. So, the opening line of the fourth stanza claims that the unknown is yet well known, as it can be imagined or even viewed through the eye of faith. So, the Toru Dutt's poem humanizes the tree. Here we can see that Toru Dutt tries to humanizes the tree, for its lament is a human recordation of pain and regret. So here we can see how the tree is lament for the people who may reach the land of the dead. So, and here we can also can hear the sound presented by her in distant lands, even on the classic shores of France and Italy. So, Toru's description of both the silent earth tranced in a dreamless swoon, that is bathed in the silver light of the moon, and the sheltered bay with its gently undulating waves is enthralling. So here we can see unknown yet well known to the eye of faith. So the brother and sister of Toru Dutt, after their death, reached on some other land where no one can see them by their normal eyes. We can feel, we can see them by the eyes of faith. Expressing the sadness again. I have heard that wail, that is the cry of pain, far, far away from some distant lands, in the remote areas, by many a sheltered bay, when slumbered means someone is sleepy in his cave, the water wraith, who? The ghost-like image in front of us, and the waves gently kissed the classic shores of France or Italy, and beneath the moon, shore, the water, the sea, and beneath the moon, when earth lay tranced in a dreamless swoon, means in the condition of the unconsciousness, subconsciousness state presented by the poetess here, as the tides came, and the tides can happen only with the power of moon. So beneath the moon, when earth lay tranced in a dreamless swoon, and every time the music rose before mine inner vision. Such kind of the music created by the nature with its objects. So before mine inner vision rose a form sublime. Whose form sublime? Whose great, the grandeur, the magnificent forms created in the inner vision of Torudutt? Thy form, O tree, means it's your form, O tree, Casuarina tree. As in my happy prime, I saw thee, I saw you in my own loved native clime. So we can here read again that the fourth stanza is highly philosophical. So the poetess observes the unknown yet well known to the eye of faith. So the term unknown denotes not simply the native home of the poet, but also the world of the departed soul. So a man who has the eye of faith can see the unknown as well known. So here we can feel what exactly Torudutt feels here. She feels mystical, spiritual approach, tries to connect her poem with the spirituality and mysticism. And the music also which is created in this poem, it is not an ordinary music which we can hear in our daily life. It is the music of the soul, and this music never dies. This music continues to vibrate with the highest note in the mind of the seeker. So come to the last stanza of the poem. Therefore I fain would consecrate a lay unto thy honor, tree, beloved of those who now in blessed sleep for a repose, dearer than life to me, alas, were they, mayst thou be numbered when my days are done, with leafless trees like those in Borrowdale, under whose awful branches lingered pale fear, trembling, hope, and that the skeleton, and time the shadow, and though weak the verse, that would thy beauty fain, O fain rehearse, may love defend thee from oblivion's curse. So, as the poem closes, Torudutt meditates on the deathless tree. As in Borrowdale, she just carry the same grim weight as William Wordsworth in his poem. He just emphasis on his yew trees. She just also quotes here, fear, trembling, hope, and that the skeleton, and time the shadow. So Torudutt tries to tell us, therefore I fain, happily pleased, would consecrate a lay, means try to write down a poem, declare, just write down a song. Unto thy honor, tree, beloved of those. So in your honor, I just try to write a poem and create a song with happy moment, with pleased, beloved of those. You are not only beloved of mine, you are beloved of Aru and Abzu too, who now in blessed sleep for a repose, dearer than life to me, alas, were they. She feels that still, if they were with her, mayst thou be numbered when my days are done, when I die, but I want you still be numbered, means you still be remembered. It means you becomes immortalized with deathless trees like those in Borrowdale. The Wordsworth yew trees in Borrowdale, that trees gonna immortalized because of Wordsworth, as he mentioned them in his poems. In the same way, she also tries to make immortalized Casuarina tree. So under whose awful branches lingered pale, the fear, trembling, hope, and that the skeleton, and time the shadow, and the weak the verse, that would thy beauty fain, O fain rehearse. Rehearse means I would like to repeat, that may love defend thee from oblivion's curse. So at the end of the poem we can see that Toru Dutt absolutely transcends the mortal, the materialistic, the mundane frame of mind and tries to attain the power of love to overcome the negative forces of life. What kind of the negative forces of life? Like the death and darkness, the terror and fear. So in the last stanza, the words and the phrases like the trembling hope, love, death, the skeleton and oblivion are very suggestive. So here Toru Dutt means to say that a man of unflinching love and devotion never fears the blows of death. So Toru does not express any desire to fade far away, to gonna dissolve. So the casuarina tree does not make her long for easeful death. So it is gonna timelessness. So this theme mocks the transience of the human worlds. The tree is to her a support, the tree is to her a reminder of the joys she once experienced with Abju and Aru. So in the final stanza, Toru Dutt aware both of the system, how the tree is worshipped in India, the people, how they just worship the trees, the plants in India and wishes to consecrate a lay in the casuarina tree's honor. As the last line in front of us, what does she say? May love defend thee, may love, my love, save you. From whom? From oblivion's curse, means from the state of forgetfulness. So my love defend you, save you from the curse of forgetfulness. So last but not the least, I would like to talk something about the literary devices used by Toru Dutt in the poem. The first of all, we all notice the zoomorphism, the term which describing here as in the example of the vine in animal term. So when the plants, the trees are describing in the form of animal, it is the term called the zoomorphism. It is here we can say as a python, so like a huge python winding round and round. So here a creeper, a vine is presenting in front of us in the form of a python. So here we can say see the personification is used by Toru Dutt. What is the personification? Where the non-human objects are given human attributes. So giant wears the scarf and flowers are hung. Here we can see that the tree is referred as giant. So in the next we can find so many similes used by Toru Dutt in the poem. So we know very well the words like and such used to compare the other things called simile. Here number one, the example of simile, like a huge python winding round and round, to a large vine which is crawling around the tree like a huge python. Another one, a grey baboon sits a statue like alone. So the baboon sits like a statue. So the water lilies spring like snow and mass. So the lilies spring like snow. Like the sea breaking on a shingle beach, the tree is laments. The tree laments like a sea. So I hope you all like it and it is clear your perception towards this poem and towards the Toru Dutt. So I hope you like it. Keep study, keep loving the videos. Thank you so much.